The Battle of Samakh was fought on the 25th of September 1918. During the Battle of Sharon, which together with the Battle of Nablus formed the set-piece Battle of Megiddo, fought from 19 to the 25th of September 1918. In the last months of the Sinai and Palestine Campaign of the First World War, during the cavalry phase of the Battle of Sharon, the Desert Mounted Corps commanded by the Australian Lieutenant General Harry Chauvel captured the Esdraelon Plain 40 to 50 miles behind the front line in the Judean Hills on the 20th of September, when the 3rd Light Horse Brigade captured Jenin. The 4th Light Horse Brigade, Australian Mounted Division, was deployed guarding supply columns and prisoners, before being ordered to attack and capture Samakh on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. Here the Ottoman and German garrison had been ordered by the commander of the Yildirim Army Group to fight to the last man. Samakh, in the center of a rearguard line stretching from Tiberias through Samakh and on to Dura, was intended to cover the retreat of 3 Ottoman armies. The rearguard was set up to delay the advance of the Egyptian Expeditionary Force cavalry in the Desert Mounted Corps after the British Empire infantry victories in the Judean Hills at the Battle of Tulkarm, and the Battle of Tabs during the Battle of Sharon. These and other battles fought during the Battle of Nablus, including the 3rd Transjordan attack, also part of the Battle of Megiddo, forced the retreat of the Ottoman 4th, the 7th and the 8th Armies north towards Damascus. On the 20th of September, German General Otto Lehmann von Sanders, the commander of the Yildirim Army Group, ordered Samakh's German and Ottoman garrison to prepare a strong rearguard defense of the town. By dawn on the 25th of September, when a regiment and 2 squadrons of the Australian 4th Light Horse Brigade attacked Samakh, the rearguard was strongly entrenched. The assault, which began with a mounted cavalry charge, ended 2 hours later after close-quarter fighting in the village and the railway station. After fierce fighting with bayonets and swords from room to room in the railway buildings, the town was captured. This victory, which captured the center of the rearguard line, concluded the Battle of Sharon section of the Battle of Megiddo and opened the way for the cavalry pursuit to Damascus, which was captured on the 1st of October. By the time the Armistice of Mudros between the Allies and the Ottoman Empire was signed at the end of October, Aleppo had been captured and fighting was in progress further north. Background: following the 1st Transjordan and the 2nd Transjordan attacks in March to April and April to May 1918 by the Egyptian Expeditionary Force, which had been responsible for the Sinai and Palestine Campaign since March 1916, its commander General Edmund Allenby ordered the occupation of the Jordan Valley. He also ordered the front line be extended across the Judean Hills to the Mediterranean Sea. Most of the British infantry and yeomanry cavalry regiments were redeployed to the Western Front to counter Ludendorff's spring offensive and were replaced by British India Army infantry and cavalry. As part of reorganization and training, these newly arrived soldiers carried out a series of attacks on sections of the Ottoman front line during the summer months. These attacks were aimed at pushing the front line to more advantageous positions in preparation for a major attack, and to acclimatize the newly arrived infantry. It was not until the middle of September that the consolidated force was ready for large-scale operations. On the 19th of September, the 21st Corps, commanded by Lieutenant General Edward Bulfin, had, with the support of a creeping barrage, broken through the Ottoman front line during the Battle of Sharon. In the afternoon, the 20th Corps, commanded by Lieutenant General Philip Chetwood, was then ordered to begin its own attack. supported by an artillery barrage. These attacks by both the 20th and 21st Corps continued until midday on the 21st of September, when a successful flanking attack by the 21st Corps, combined with the 20th Corps assault, forced the 7th and 8th Armies to disengage. The 7th Army, commanded by the Ottoman Army Commander-in-Chief Farouk Mustafa Kemal, retreated from the Nablus area towards the Jordan River, crossing the Jisr-ed-Damieh bridge before the rearguard at Nablus was captured. The Desert Mounted Corps, commanded by Lieutenant General Harry Chauvel, advanced through the gap created by the 21st Corps Infantry during the morning of the 19th of September to almost encircle the Ottoman forces fighting in the Judean Hills, capturing Nazareth, Haifa, Afula and Basin, Jenin and Samakh before advancing to Tiberias. During this time, Chaytor's force, commanded by Major General Edward Chaytor, captured part of the retreating Ottoman and German column at the Jisr-ed-Damieh bridge to cut off this line of retreat across the Jordan River. To the east of the river, as the 4th Army began its retreat, Chaytor's force advanced to capture Assault on the 23rd of September. Amman was captured on the 25th of September during the Second Battle of Amman, where a strong 4th Army rearguard was defeated on the 25th of September. Samakh was regarded by both Allenby, the British commander of the Egyptian Expeditionary Force, and the German General Otto Lehmann von Sanders, commander of the Yildirim Army Group, as a key strategic point. The town controlled the most direct road to Damascus on the Ottoman lines of communication and the Palestine railways, which ran across a series of bridges across the Jordan River from Daraa. It was clear that only one course remained open to me. The Tiberias sector from Lake Huel to Samakh must be held with all the means at our disposal to prevent the pursuit overtaking us, whilst the formations retiring along the River Jordan and east of Jordan to the Yarmouk Valley sector from Samakh to Daraa must form front for at least the time being. During the unsuccessful attack of the 5th Cavalry Division on Nazareth in the early morning of the 20th of September, Lehmann von Sanders, accompanied by General Kiazim, Major Brigadier Rittmeister Hecker, had escaped on the way to Damascus. They arrived at Tiberias during the afternoon of the 20th of September, before continuing on to Samakh and Daraa. He alerted the garrisons he passed to the advance of the EEF and ordered the establishment of a rearguard line. The line was to run from Daraa down the Yarmouk River Valley, across the Jordan River and west to Samakh, around the shore of the Sea of Galilee to Tiberias and northwards to Lake Huller. Two main roads and the railway lines to Damascus would be protected and time gained for the development of the defense of Damascus. If the garrisons were not defeated, Lehmann von Sanders described Samakh as the essential link between the two main sectors of the line, but also the weak link between the two halves. Quote, he reinforced the garrison at Samakh with German machine gunners and ordered the commander, a German officer, to hold the town to the last man. Prelude. Asia Corps retreat. By the morning of the 21st of September, German Colonel Gustav von Oppen's Asia Corps remained intact. It consisted of the 16th and 19th Divisions. The 701st Battalion was still complete with a troop and a squadron of cavalry, 6 machine guns and 18 light Bergmann machine guns, an additional machine gun company of 6 guns, an infantry artillery platoon with 2 mountain guns, howitzers, a trench mortar section with 4 mortars. The 701st Artillery Detachment consisted of 2 4-gun 77mm, 1 4-gun 105mm howitzer batteries and the Hentig machine gun detachment. The remnants of the 702nd and the 703rd Battalions were formed into a battalion to which a rifle company, a machine gun company and a trench mortar detachment were attached, with about 700 German and 1,300 Ottoman soldiers of the 16th and 19th Divisions. Von Oppen succeeded in retreating towards Basin via Mantabal during the 21st of September but was forced to leave behind all guns of baggage. They suffered some casualties when fired on by artillery, before bivouacking that night at Tamoon with the 16th and 19th Divisions at Tubas, unaware that Desert Mounted Corps had already occupied Basin. They were moving northwards from Tubas towards Basin when von Oppen learned it had already been captured. He decided to advance during the night of the 22nd of September to Samakh, where he correctly guessed Lehman von Sanders would order a strong rearguard action. However, Jevad, the commander of the 8th Army, ordered him to cross the Jordan instead. He successfully got all the Germans and some of the Ottoman soldiers across before the 11th Cavalry Brigade attacked and captured the remainder. To finalize the capture of Afula and Basin, Lehman von Sanders was very critical of Jevad's intervention, which considerably weakened the Samakh position, but von Oppen would have had to break through a whole cavalry division to get there. Reconnaissance by 4th Cavalry Division Unit, while the Central India Horse of the 19th Lancers, 4th Cavalry Division, continued to hold the bridge at Jisr Majami, captured at 5 o'clock on the 21st of September. During the capture of Afula and Basin, one of the squadrons made a reconnaissance to Samakh to blow up the railway east of the town. The 10th Brigade relieved the 19th Lancers at Jisr Majami on the 23rd of September, so it was probably the 10th Brigade which carried out the reconnaissance. However, the patrol was forced to retire when heavily fired on by two 10.5 cm guns from northeast of the town, but they reported a train had arrived at Samakh which was still there at 11 o'clock on the 24th of September. Australian Mounted Division advanced to Jisr Majami. Chauvel, commander of the Desert Mounted Corps, ordered the capture of the towns of Samakh and Tiberias to complete the strategic and tactical line held by his cavalry across the Esdraelon Plain, from Acre north of Haifa on the Mediterranean Sea to Nazareth. On the 24th of September, the Australian Mounted Division, commanded by Major General Henry West Hodgson, was ordered to capture Samakh and the railway bridges over the Yarmouk Gorge, 4 days after Lehman von Sanders had alerted the rearguard garrison, which led to the most fiercely fought action of the whole pursuit, in preparation for a further advance towards Damascus. However, Hodgson's reserve, the 11th Light Horse Regiment and one squadron of the 12th Light Horse Regiment, with the 4th Light Horse Brigade's headquarters and machine gun squadron, were the only troops available. The 5th Light Horse Brigade was ordered at 15:10 on the 24th of September, while they were at Jenin, to send a regiment to reinforce the attacking force during its approach to Samakh. They sent the 15th Light Horse Regiment, which reported at Samakh at 7 o'clock, half an hour after the town was captured. Meanwhile, the remainder of the 5th Light Horse Brigade stayed at Jenin until the evening of the 25th of September, when they rode to the railway near Sharon, with Mount Gilboa on the right, to water for a couple of days. The 4th Light Horse Brigade arrived at Baseline at 13:45 on the 24th of September. Here they received Order No. 31 from the Australian Mounted Division to attack Samakh. After leaving Basin for Jisr Mejami at 1635, they received a message dropped from an aircraft, which reported that Samakh was defended by 50 rifles and machine guns. They arrived at Jisr Mejami at 2100 and made contact with the regiment of the 4th Cavalry Division holding the bridge. A further order to capture Samakh was received at 2210, which included the additional objective of reconnoitering towards Tiberias, where they were to cooperate with the 3rd Light Horse Brigade in capturing the town. The orders gave the brigade commander, Brigadier General William Grant, the choice of attacking immediately, or waiting for the 4th Light Horse Regiment and the squadrons of the 12th Light Horse Regiment. He decided not to delay attacking the apparently weak rearguard, as he expected to be reinforced by the 15th Light Horse Regiment, 5th Light Horse Brigade, on the way to Samakh. If Grant had waited for reinforcements, the attack would have been in daylight, in full view of the defenders in the railway station building, which may have resulted in at least as many casualties, and perhaps many more, during a potentially more protracted fight. Battle. Cavalry charge. The 4th Light Horse Brigade crossed the Jordan and Yarmouk rivers at Jisr Mejami at 2:30 on the 25th of September in order to arrive at Samakh before dawn. Advancing along the railway line, Grant ordered the 11th Light Horse Regiment to attack mounted from the southeast at dawn, supported by machine guns which were to be deployed due south on the railway. The attack began before dawn, when the 2 leading light horse squadrons were heavily fired on by rifles and machine guns from several outposts at 4:25, causing nearly 100 horse casualties. No reconnaissance by the light horse had been possible, but the 19th Lancers reported that the village and station buildings lay at the end of a flat plain 2.5 miles wide, without any cover and no apparent obstacles to a cavalry charge. This unexpected fire revealed the garrison was deployed covering the open plain for some 700 yards south of Samakh, extending on either side to the mountains. The 11th Light Horse Regiment, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel J.W. Parsons, had planned to attack the garrison's flank, but as no flank attack was possible, he swung the regiment around to attack straight on. A and B squadrons galloped on either side of the railway line, with all 12 machine guns of the 4th Machine Gun Squadron providing covering fire for the charging squadrons. They fired at the flashes created by the Ottoman rifles and machine guns. Both squadrons succeeded in entering the village, while one squadron of 12th Light Horse Regiment moved forward towards the town from the west. In support, the 11th Light Horse Regiment's Reserve C Squadron moved forward to occupy Hill 377 on the eastern flank, watching the railway from Daraa and the road on the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee. Meanwhile, the 4th Light Horse Brigade headquarters and the 12th Light Horse Regimental headquarters, forming the attacking unit's reserve, were deployed on the plain south of the town and east of the railway. Here they were heavily fired on by artillery on the right flank near the Sea of Galilee, and forced to move to cover. Preston claims it was the 4th Light Horse Regiment which was sent in mounted on the west. This cavalry charge was unique during the whole of the First World War, being the only one carried out in the dark and across country, which had not been previously reconnoitred. The ground was found to be scattered with clumps of long-spiked thistles, and a number of pitfalls, causing 9 men to be injured from falls during the charge. Dismounted attack. As soon as A and B squadrons of the 11th Light Horse Regiment reached the town and dismounted, the 4th Machine Gun Squadron stopped their covering fire to target their German or Ottoman machine guns on the right, which they silenced. Then the 4th Machine Gun Squadron galloped forward to take up a position at the western end of the town, while the 2 attacking squadrons dismounted to approach the railway station buildings on foot. The substantial 2-storied station building, solidly built of stone, made an effective strong redoubt for the garrison, with the windows used by the defenders to fire their automatic rifles and throw the grenades from. At this time several white flags were reported at the station, but when the light horsemen approached they were fired on, and it was in this way that most of the light horsemen who died during the battle were killed. Once they succeeded in entering the station buildings, hand-to-hand fighting from room to room with rifles, bayonets, and swords followed. Other groups of defenders deployed in the locomotives, tenders and carriages standing in the railway sidings were also attacked. The savage hand-to-hand fighting in the railway buildings and sidings lasted for more than an hour before the light horsemen captured the area. Over 20 Ottoman and German soldiers were killed in the station buildings alone during the fighting. At the same time, C Squadron of the 11th Light Horse Regiment and/or 1 Squadron of the 12th Light Horse Regiment moved up into the village of Samakh and captured the town during less severe fighting. There were 28 German and Ottoman soldiers killed and 33 wounded, while 331 unwounded prisoners were captured. Other captures included 1 77mm field gun, 7 heavy machine guns, 3 automatic rifles, a large dump of rifles, bayonets, automatic pistols and ammunition, which was subsequently burned. A motorboat escaped, but another was destroyed by fire and its occupants were captured. 2 locomotives, 8 carriages, 12 goods wagons along with an aircraft and a wireless were also captured. The light horsemen suffered 17 killed and 60 wounded, with 1 man missing and 77 horses killed. The 11th Light Horse Regiment lost 2 captains, 1 lieutenant and 11 other ranks killed, while 4 officers and 25 other ranks were wounded. Aftermath. While the 4th Light Horse Brigade buried the dead and the field ambulance treated the wounded, a squadron of the 12th Light Horse Regiment advanced along the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, to meet with the 3rd Light Horse Brigade, which had captured Jenin, which had advanced direct over the hills from Nazareth at 1500 on the 25th of September, to capture Tiberias. Strong patrols also advanced up the Yarmouk River valley east of Samakh, but every bridge across the Jordan River was found to be strongly guarded. 30 at one and 60 Germans in a redoubt with an engine and tender at another. The rugged Jebel Nimr mountain, 1,800 feet above the Sea of Galilee and less than 2 miles from its southern shore, was occupied by 500 Ottoman infantry and 1 gun. The capture of Samakh and operations around the Sea of Galilee concluded the battles of Megiddo. Chauvel's desert-mounted corps had captured Haifa, Nazareth and Tiberias. 2 Ottoman armies had been eliminated from the Judean Hills, and the 4th Army east of the Jordan was in full retreat to Deraa and Damascus. Allenby acknowledged in a cable to the Australian government that the completeness of our victory is due to the action of the Desert-Mounted Corps, under General Chauvel. Quote, "The battle had been as brilliant in execution as it had been in conception. It had no parallel in France or on any other front, but rather looked forward in principle and even in detail to the Blitzkrieg of 1939. I have your HWR and that from troopers proposing a cavalry raid to Aleppo. I don't think Aleppo possible, but am sending 3 divisions of cavalry as soon as I can to Damascus. Chaytor's division of Anzac Light Horse is about Taman now, and will deal with enemy coming from the south. Prisoners number well over 40,000 and are still coming in. I have Australian mounted troops at the end of Lake Tiberias, and they're pushing to Tiberias. If I get Damascus, Beirut falls to us certainly, and I hope to push troops northwards thither by the coast road from Haifa, feeding from the sea, stage by stage. On the 27th of September, the 4th Light Horse Brigade left Samakh at 6 o'clock and arrived at Tiberias at 8 o'clock, where they received 2 days' supplies and 1 day's iron ration, to last until after breakfast on the 29th of September. They rode out towards Damascus at 10 o'clock, leaving the 15th Light Horse Regiment to guard Samakh until they were relieved by the 7th Division, 21st Corps. Citations